welcome in. Good evening. It is the Beast of the East podcast. Joining me in this never-ending loop of awesome band music is Vinny Hardy, and filling in for Israel Troupe in a pinch-hitting role while Israel sits in traffic after not getting us any deer. I was looking forward to the pictures of him holding the deer and maybe a shipment of venison, but it looks like that's not going to happen at least tonight. So filling in for Israel Troupe is Stephen Willis. What's up, guys? Welcome, Vinny. It's good to have you, man. Like
Vinny's debut.
It's his debut as a permanent co-host of mine. This is breaking new ground here.
Hey, excited to be here. Appreciate y'all reaching out. Beast of the East. Looking forward to it, man. Appreciate y'all.
We are beasts. We are a beast. That indeed. But we are on y'all's conference network in conjunction with the Believe Podcast Network, also presented by betonline.ag. It's Thanksgiving. We all know what that means. Football and turkey and plenty of naps. You'll be able to take plenty of naps while you watch the Cowboys and Lions probably. But if you bet on it, you might not want to. But it has you covered for the holiday season. There's more props and odds than ever before. So head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus with the promo code BELIEVE. That's very simple, BLEAV, to receive your bonus. And it's not just football. BetOnline has pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, and even your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline, the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. So, Vinny, the chat is blazing. We are ready to rock and roll, man. I'm excited. Look, we even got you the UK label. So if you want to follow us, it's right down below. If we're going to subscribe to us, it's right on down below. And wherever you're watching and however you're watching, we appreciate it. So let's get into it. Dan Mullen.
He gone.
He gone. Ooh. He is... I think at a certain point, Steve, you were saying he was trying to get himself fired. Well, he succeeded, I guess.
Losing to Missouri will do that.
Yeah. And getting trolled by Eli Drinkwitz.
Okay. Before we get into the Dan Mullen got fired story, let's talk about that for a second. Eli Drinkwitz might be the worst troller in the history of trolling. That was such a bad staged troll at the end of the press conference. It was funny because of how bad it was. And that he's the guy that would like get into an argument and say, I know you are, but what am I? I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible.
That's probably why they went ahead and fired him.
Yes.
That's hilarious, man.
And I don't think I got a whole lot of stuff right. I did get it right that Missouri wasn't as hyped as everybody said they were going to be as far as drinking that Kool-Aid. But it's the two of those guys talking before the game was so forced and awkward. You know, you do your little chat at midfield before they even kicked off Florida, Missouri. It was just comical and weird and awkward. Both of those dudes, they're so alike. It's what you know.
They're both real nerdy. Yeah. It's very bizarre.
It's like
it's funny.
Yeah, it's like them trying to be Steve Spurrier, both of them, and they're like a C- at best. Steve Spurrier. It's terrible. They're awful. Now, Missouri is going to take 20,000 people to the Liberty Bowl. Now that they've got 6. Now they're going to travel like hell to that bowl game. And the bowl game that I am so glad that we get is Florida versus Florida State, both competing for a Birmingham Bowl level bowl and the loser going home. It is going to be the best scene ever. I'm taking Mike Norvell right now in the Florida State Seminoles over the Gators, but that game is going to be so sad.
Absolutely. Our chat's blazing, Vinny. Guy Caldwell's welcoming us. Hate State Week. It's Fiber Burton now, Guy. So you gotta get with the program here. Napier, the next Gator head coach. We'll get into that in a minute. Cousin Eddie, great nickname. Great nickname, Vinny. I couldn't come up with a better one myself, man. It was freaking awesome.
It's been a bad few weeks for me, Clark.
I love it. I love it. With so many jokes you can go with there. Fits right into the upcoming holiday season, man. It's great. But
we thought this dude would really, based on what he did. Look, I hate to say it, I have to say it. Based on what he did in Starkville, Steve, I know, but what he was on his grind, got them to number 1 in the nation. The state of Mississippi was top 5 in the country that year. Everybody just kind of assumed, well, now you put this dude in Gainesville. He's already been there as a coordinator.
Forget one
he
thing.
knows the lay of the land. He's gonna just take off like a rocket.
He does
you already
recruit.
Yeah, you took your shot at my Cowboys, Corey, about how we're gonna take naps on Thursday. But back,
it was a shot at the Lions, really.
Okay, but
might as well be the Saints too.
Hey, don't get me wrong, the Falcons are horrendous, so you can take plenty of shots there.
Back when the Cowboys, back when Jimmy Johnson left to go to Miami, everybody just assumed, oh, he's just gonna give Dan Marino a running game, and it's gonna poo. It doesn't always fit stuff. It just the seemingly easy, obvious fits. Oh man, this is gonna work great. This is a can't miss. It doesn't always plan out that way. And another example just happened with Dan Mullen in Gainesville. I know he was in the title game last year, but from the Kentucky's perspective, he's the answer to 2 trivia questions. Who's the last, the Florida coach to lose to Kentucky in Gainesville for the first time since 1979? Dan Mullen. First Florida coach to lose to Kentucky in Lexington since 1986? Dan Mullen. So we appreciate you, Dan. You 2 for 2 with us. You good with us.
I know you wanted a lifetime contract.
Vinny, Dan Mullen ruined my favorite joke of all time. And my favorite joke of all time was the Atlantic will beat Kentucky or beat Florida before Kentucky does. And he just destroyed that joke, just ruined it forever.
Yep. Yeah. Can't use that anymore. Dopey Dan from the Gainesville fan. We can't say that anymore.
He's in there with Derek Dooley for us when it comes to breaking streaks. Dan Mullen, Derek Dooley at Tennessee, Mullen at Florida. Kentucky broke through against both of those guys, and their trivia questions immortalized in trivia history forever.
That's so sad for Kentucky fans and Georgia fans alike. So
hey, Vinny, real quick before we get started, what are you hearing about Mark Stoops?
A lot of people just.
It's a lot of guessing. The telephone game's in full gear right now. Yeah, it's about 80% false, but.
You saw Feldman with the LSU, and now he was at Florida State and Miami, and a lot of people don't really know what type of guy is he. Is he a guy that he's got it made at Kentucky? Do you want that challenge of going to an LSU where you have a better shot at a title than you do at Kentucky, even though he's raised Kentucky tremendously? You saw what Les Miles did, and Orgeron at LSU. You saw Feldman's article with him on the cover right there. Boom, the lead, picture. Is he a guy that's got it made in Lexington and wants to continue building on what he's built, or does he want to scratch another itch and try to let me see what I can do elsewhere? He's recently divorced. His wife and kids are in Colorado now, so it's not like he's got to drag a family somewhere. He's just kind of him. So from that standpoint, he can up and go, but does he want to? It's kind of hard to read.
Does he want to get into that? Does he want to get into that athletic department? I don't think so. Green Soldier, love the setup, guys. It's all him. It's all Steve. Nope, that way. Yep, there you go. It's all Steve. Guy, dude, welcome back, Guy Caldwell. Look, Cousin Eddie So Dumb, he bragged about Feinbaum about his 45K sneakers while he was living in Stark, Afghanistan.
Yep.
That is hilarious. Mark could win a championship at LSU. Yes, he could. He absolutely could.
Ed Orgeron winning a championship in LSU means that is a good job. The last 3 coaches there have won a natty. They've got a ship. That tells you that Ed Orgeron, if he can win a natty at LSU, just about anybody can. That can't be said about Florida. Other than Spurrier and Urban Meyer, over 50 years, there's nothing But except for those two guys that just kind of helped the narrative with Florida like it was a top 5 job. But other than those two guys, nobody's done it.
And it's weird. Up until like the mid 80s, the state of Florida was not very strong at college football. Like Florida State didn't come into existence until like 1955 as a football program because they were an all girls school for a long time. Miami was clown college. You couldn't give away tickets at Miami, and then Spurrier comes along to the University of Florida, and they can't get it done, and then all of a sudden Miami becomes good in the mid 80s, and Florida State becomes good in the mid 80s. And Florida's still stuck in the mud, and then Spurrier comes back in the 90s, and Florida obviously does what they do. But, man, I don't know what they're going to do, who they're going to get, or, it's going to be an interesting deal. I've heard Jeff Brom in the mix, but whoever comes in, whoever it may be, Mark Stoops, Jeff Brom,
Billy
Napier, maybe they go get, what's his name? I just drew a blank from Coastal Carolina. Jamie Chadwell, whoever it is going to have to win over that locker room and is going to actually have to recruit. I think Freeze is going to go to Va Tech, by the way.
Yeah, Freeze already told them no, and Scott Strickland came from Mississippi State. There's probably hard feelings there. Freeze isn't going to Florida.
Yeah, there's no way. And that's great insight, Steve. But yeah, I mean, I just think Vinny, whoever it is going to have to win the locker room right away because that's Dan Mullen lost that locker room really quickly, and you could tell when he had the once in a generation talent in that locker room last year why they went on that skid. It's because they don't really respect him, and he lost that locker room probably long before that.
And then all the stuff he's saying, do you think you've lost the locker room? You're going to have to ask them. You're the head coach, and then there were so many things that done him in. Losing to Kentucky, that wasn't acceptable down there. Getting boat raced by Georgia, that wasn't acceptable.
Getting rolled by Terry Wilson.
Sanford having 50 at halftime, that wasn't acceptable.
Yeah,
and Grantham was gone. You couldn't blame that on Grantham. You already fired him. And there was just so many things. Then the comments about recruiting after the Georgia game, that probably done him in too. When Kirby went on that rant about you recruit, eat, sleep, breathe, recruit. When you're in a coma, recruit. And he's like, well, I talk about recruiting in the off season. It's in season. Now he said the exact. And everybody's like, what?
Season, not recruiting season. That's what he said.
Yeah, that's what me and Corey were talking about. Is he trying to get fired? It's like he's actively trying to get that buyout so he can go to the league. He's just done with college football at that point.
He's going to go to the league.
Lump sum installments. Just send it to me. Just send me my money.
Offensive analyst at Bama.
Nah, he's going to be the Dwight Schrute assistant to the head coach for Joe Judge. That's where they all go. Yes. Kirby did actually break them bitches. Yes.
Maybe Dan Mullen wanted to be the head coach for the Tampa Bay Bandits. USFL.
Yeah. He seems like a Houston Gambler to me.
Yeah. Or Birmingham Stallion. He can do that in the spring while he's analyzing for Spurrier in the fall. Or not Spurrier, Saban in the fall.
Right. Yeah.
Well, maybe Spurrier. Maybe Spurrier gets another run at Florida. I don't know.
Wow.
Honest to God, whenever you have an interim for one coach, I would have asked Coach Spurrier to coach that one game.
Oh my God!
Just one time, go out there one more time with the visor against Florida State. You would get an effort that would be worthy of the legacy and probably enough of a bounce with the game at Florida that you could potentially win that game.
They did that with Wisconsin. Did that with Alvarez in the bowl game, and they boat raced Auburn that year. Remember that?
Yeah.
Between Bielema and Christ.
I ain't got nothing else to do. I just go ahead and throw it around against the nose like I did back in '97. That's what he'd say. He'd just step right back in and we'll just throw it around. See what Emery can do. We'll just throw it around.
Well, Free Shoes University. Well, it's gonna be across the ball plays. We're gonna light that thing. We're gonna see if every line on that scoreboard works, man. We're just gonna do it.
There's some 6-string walk-on quarterback that nobody's ever heard of, even people that are fans of Florida, starting the game against Florida State.
No.
Because he holds the ball high and tight.
Yeah, he holds the ball high and tight. He throws for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns, and everybody anoints him as the starter for next year.
Yo.
And then he transfers to Liberty.
I don't think, I don't want to go Conference USA of the East or whatever, but Jim Cheapo. Completely forgot what I was saying. Hugh Freeze potentially, there's a chance he could end up at Virginia Tech. I think that might be a landing spot for him. And people have asked about him at Miami. 2 separate boosters, unprovoked, brought Hugh Freeze up to ask a friend about it, who asked me about it because I would know about him. So boosters are inquiring about Hugh Freeze even before Manny Diaz is gone.
Well, the AD got fired at Miami. I mean, it's only a matter of time.
Oh, yeah.
For Diaz, it's over now.
How sad is the state of Florida for football right now?
Well, Florida State's bouncing back. You can see they're bouncing back.
But they can at best do 6-6. The winner of this season in the whole state of Florida is probably UCF. And what are they? 7-5, 8-4. It's a weird kid that's my age to see something like that. Whenever you used to look at the top 10 and there was 3 Florida teams sitting in there. And now there's just oh, man, they're fighting it out for the Birmingham Bowl.
No.
And the R&L Carriers, whatever bowl, Louisiana Bowl, New Orleans Bowl, or whatever they call it.
Freeport or whatever.
Get boat raced by Louisiana.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's real possible this year. Sure,
yeah. You could see it. But I hope Billy Napier chooses a better job than Florida.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Come on, Billy, go to USC. You can do it, man. Do it, man. Go to Penn State.
Yeah, it looked like I don't know if they were having fun, but there was a flight from Gainesville to Lafayette, Louisiana today.
They were getting that's what they were doing.
I think O should have coached Louisiana Lafayette, and he should have done it 10 years ago. That's my theory. I think he's a perfect fit for that job. I think LSU was a little bit beyond him.
He could serve as a mascot too. The Raging Cajun.
All my girlfriend's kids run to practice without getting scrutinized.
Hey, I'm Coach O. Hey, you want to work out with me sometime?
Right. Yeah, I can.
Yeah, how about we work out sometime?
I can holler here if I want to.
Even
I get in trouble.
He had a perfect opportunity for a good pickup line, and he just totally just fumbled that one. I don't even know, but better than what he gave. Hey, you want to work out sometime?
Oh, yeah.
Look nice, yeah. Oh, you're Bruce's wife?
I want to ruin my career. You down for that?
Hey, I want to get fired.
Yeah.
Can I do that?
Can I give you some ammunition? Yeah. You want to talk about somebody that couldn't handle the success he got. After 2019, he literally thought he was untouchable, and I hate to know what that man thought he could get away with.
Yeah.
Based on what we know. Yeah. He starts talking about Boudreaux and Gators and the Bayou. Hell, he might have done it. I don't know.
It came off way too comfortably. Came off way too easy off his tongue. I mean, he just rattled that like he was just like secondhand, like
at his coach's show at whatever restaurant it is. Just hey, wait a minute, because
it's very matter of fact. He's like, oh, we got a special spot in the bayou for you. All right, next question.
Right.
It's like no, we need to circle back to that.
Right.
Hold on. We just gonna let this like Cajun Mafia thing we just gonna blow right past that.
This co-host too was trying to, let's talk about football. Okay, let's move on. No. We're
gonna bury his ass. We're gonna feed him to the Gators. Go Tigers.
Hold
up. Hold up.
And Dan Mullen lost them 2 straight years.
Yeah.
Yep.
What does Joe Paterno and Florida have in common? DGD podcast. I'm sure he'll tell us in just a second.
Yep. They're
Both dead.
Wow. Oh.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Moving on.
Hey, I know this is
Bring you
Beast
to
of-
kudzu. I think you're at the bayou.
I know this is Beast of the East, but how is y'all worried about Lane?
Honestly,
It ties in, Vinny. It ties in because he's
Okay.
coming
yeah.
to the East.
Honestly, if the right offer comes about, yes, I would worry about Lane. But here's the thing where I fall on that job. I don't know that major jobs are going to look at Lane Kiffin as a person that could take that job. That might be above him at this point after USC and Tennessee and the LA Raiders or Oakland Raiders and all that went down. And he went down to FAU. I'm thinking Ole Miss might be his ceiling. And he's a good coach. He can handle all of the things, but there's just so many red flags when it comes to administrators with him that might scare him off at a place like LSU or like Florida.
Yeah, I mean he's comfortable at Ole Miss.
Oh, you can tell.
The only job I would see him leaving for is Miami because he really loves that area.
Alabama,
And-
just because they can pay unlimited money.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's not like Ole Miss is poor, but so speaking of new coaches, what do we think of Shane Beamer? How's he done?
A+.
Yeah.
Getting them to 6 wins before Clemson and going to a bowl game. A+. It is well beyond anything that they could have said, and if they'd have told you anybody tells you they thought they were going bowling, they're lying to you.
Or they're just super fanboys.
Started off rocky like you'd expect, and wasn't much expected of him. And for him to get through all that initial turbulence and have them where they are, and peaking, if you will, considering what he has, and putting in culture and changing stuff around and getting guys to buy in, that whole first year stuff, to do what he's done is, you gotta tip your hat to him.
Absolutely. I mean, their only expectations was don't finish last. That was it. Like they had nothing. We went over their roster, Steve. There was nothing on their roster.
Yeah, it was don't get blown out by Clemson. That was their goal this season. They went
Vandy.
2-10, they'd be fine. Yeah, beat Vandy, play with Mizzou or something like that, and don't get blown out by Clemson. That was probably the goals going into the season.
And now they're bowling. And they blew out Florida.
Right.
And they just beat Auburn.
Yep.
And that was talk about a big win. I mean, that was we got punched in the mouth early on, and we're gonna go right back at you, punch you right back in the mouth, and then pummel you is what they did. That defensive line has been lights out down the stretch of the season. Those guys have been amazing in shutting down teams' runs game. They were scary good up front.
Now, there's a rumor going around that Harsin may jump. He may pull a Lane Kiffin and go to Washington. And if he does that, Auburn, just like Tennessee, is going to go down for 3, 4, 5 years because rapid system changes on both sides of the ball that you recruit to. And, yeah, it's not good. It'll be a little bit quicker with the transfer portal, but, it could be a problem.
Yeah, it's just getting those kids to realize that, hey, they're going to have a hard time believing people because this will be their third coach in as many years, and that's a problem. Tennessee, firsthand, you're spot on there. Tennessee has just now gotten out of the downward spiral of Lane Kiffin jumping ship.
Look at that segue. Ooh.
Well, it's almost like I'm a professional. Josh Heupel. Yeah, and the tea popped in.
Look at that. It's like we planned it.
Goodness gracious.
Hey,
Yeah.
we did. We tell everybody we did. Josh Heupel, man. Speaking of ending a downward spiral, I thought Tennessee was also going to be destined. I thought there was about 3 teams that were going to fight it out for last place, ultimately ceding way to Vandy. But Tennessee, man, to play the way they've been playing, for them to go bowling where they have left an entire All-American team into the transfer portal, for them to even sustain some injuries along the way and still play at the level that they've been playing, to me, I'm not really surprised at how well Hendon Hooker's played. I thought he'd come in and be the best fit for that system. I was surprised he wasn't at the beginning. Maybe he had trouble learning the playbook. I'm not real sure exactly what it was, but
I just
boy,
think
did he figure
Heupel
it
got
out quick.
fooled. Heupel,
He
I
did.
think, just got fooled.
But yeah, I mean, Hooker, you saw him at Virginia Tech. Fuente just completely foobarred that situation. Because
Cost him his job.
He had a gem in Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, Kentucky played him in the bowl game, and in the Belt Bowl with the Lynn Bowden team and beat them. And when I saw he was transferring to Tennessee, I didn't. Yeah, okay, fine. Not really worried about this guy coming. And y'all know it kills me to the core to have to give them credit, but you have to. You have to with what he's done. Another first year guy, and we've seen the cycle they've been going through. You just mentioned it, and for to have them that much ahead of schedule, considering all the attrition, they got reason to be optimistic. Now if Lincoln Riley leaves, does Oklahoma come calling for him? Well, possibly, but as long as he's there, he's off to a very, very nice start. And if things should get easier, if he did that with these challenges, they should be excited about the potential for the future.
And they're going to start recruiting well, because guess what they do? They recruit in season.
What?
Wait, real quick, you know what my favorite joke is this season after Dan Mullen ruined my Kentucky joke?
It's a Joe Milton joke, yes.
Yes, both of them are Joe Milton jokes. One of which is, if you need Joe Milton to throw the ball 40 yards, he can throw the ball 40 yards. If you need him to throw the ball 20 yards, he can throw the ball 40 yards.
That's right.
And the other one is, after the Ole Miss game, the only person in the stadium that didn't want to throw something was Joe Milton.
That's right. That's right.
That's your best one. I love that. There you go. So yeah, I think if Lincoln Riley leaves Oklahoma, that would be the only job Heupel would leave for. I think.
Yeah.
I say that now, but he could up and go to USC next week. Jeff Levy is.
Real quick, Tennessee's going to go to a bowl game. They might go to the Gator Bowl or the Belk Bowl or something like that.
It doesn't
Music
matter.
City, and it doesn't matter. They are going to put 50 on somebody in that bowl game. And they are going to bring 40,000 people to that bowl game and just drink them dry. I haven't seen Tennessee this fired up in probably 2 decades, at least until since Lane Kiffin got hired. But it's been a while for them. I mean, it's good to see Tennessee doing that, but there's only so many times we can joke about them being back, though.
Yeah.
Well, Texas is still setting the standard as far as that goes. But
do you know the Texas Rangers last won a ball game since over Texas or whatever? The Texas Rangers have won a game since Texas has won a game. So the baseball team, the baseball season that ended October 2nd, their win is after Texas's last win.
Golly.
That's sad.
Yeah. Because the Rangers were garbage, and they still won more recently than the Longhorns. Unbelievable.
Is that bad? It's not good.
By the way, Guy Caldwell, I don't see Jeff Levy for a big spot. I see him for a potential, like if Sonny Dykes goes to TCU and that comes open, that could be a landing spot for Jeff Levy.
Happening. I've heard some major smoke on that. That's happening.
Yeah, and it could fall in that. But also, Levy, honestly, could be just biding his time at Ole Miss and waiting to see what Lane does. If Lane leaves, Levy is probably the favorite to get that Ole Miss job.
No doubt.
That'd be
They
good.
Plug him right in there, man.
Just plug him in and move him up.
Yeah.
For Ole Miss's sake, I know you guys improved on defense, but I just still don't get good vibes from DJ Durkin.
Bring Matt Luke
Hey,
back. Let him
top
go.
top half of college football on defense and scoring defense. I
Yeah,
have a tweet right now that is just getting like after like after like because nobody can believe it. But
it's
we're
unreal.
60th right now. Yeah.
It's unreal, but it is. I cannot shake that Maryland stuff out of my mind
Yeah.
with Durkin. But again, he's not a head coach, so he's got to fall in line with Lane. So I guess that's good for him. But Kendall Briles, does he get any consideration?
It's a similar type situation to Jeff Levy, honestly. I think his last name is going to hurt him a little bit, even though he may or may not have had anything to do with what went on there. I think it's at a certain level, schools do not want to hire a Briles just because of the perception. Because right now, let's just be real. Perception equals reality at this point. It doesn't matter if he was or wasn't involved. If enough people say he is, he was. It's kind of like the who's the Rutgers coach in Tennessee?
Schiano?
That type's Schiano in Tennessee. Them going crazy about that just because he was on the staff at Penn State.
I mean, it's fair or not. It is what it is. What it is when that situation kind of happens. You think back to a few years ago, Tyler Summit, Pat Summit, kid got in trouble with when he was coaching. It wasn't Tyler Summit did this. It was Pat Summit's son did this. It was still the stank still went on to her because of who she was, because her son was messing up. You know, Coach K's grandson over here at Duke, he out here getting a DWI. It's Mike Krzyzewski's grandson. So fair or not, Kendall's gonna. In this case, it's not the kid messing up and the parents getting it. The dad's mistakes are now trickling down to the son, and that's it's not right, but that's kind of how that stuff works until quite a bit of time goes by.
So he's just going to have to bide his time and figure it out and maybe prove himself in the G5 level. But Clark Lee, Vanderbilt, what do we think there?
You look at the transfer portal.
Speaking of FCS schools.
Yeah, with the transfer portal and everything going on with the signing classes and the number of players that left Vanderbilt, Clark Lee was just dealt a massive rebuild. And if Vanderbilt hired him for they give him less than 5 years, they've done him a disservice.
Mm-hmm.
And look, you get drilled by ETSU in your bye game. That kind of lets you know where you are when they travel from Johnson City to Nashville and just roll in there and smack the doors down. But as bad as the hand he's been dealt, you see them starting to play tough. They haven't quit on him. They've been playing with effort. We've got the past 2 weeks in a row, you got Kentucky fans disappointed, quote unquote, because you didn't go in there and blow them out the way you thought. And then that Ole Miss score, I'm sure that down there in Oxford, 31-17. We're not,
if we look at our picks last week, I called this game because Ole Miss and Vanderbilt. Ole Miss had game day the week before and everything that went around Texas A&M, that huge win, then Vandy, and then 5 days later was the Egg Bowl. This was always going to be a trap.
And they lost at South Carolina. We just bragged on Beamer. They lost at South Carolina by a point, 21-20.
That game.
It's little bitty, tiny, micro baby steps, but Clark Lee has got them, coaching them up and doing fundamentals, and you got to get some players in there, and that's going to be hard at Vandy. But you got to. He's done well with what he's been handed to work with.
See, outwardly though, I think he's got to inject a little bit more energy into the program. I mean, I think you see what Beamer was able to do at South Carolina with a similar hand, probably not as bad as Vanderbilt's hand, but a similar hand where you have nothing on the roster and your roster's just not competitive whatsoever. And then all of a sudden those guys play like super, super hard. He's energetic on the sideline. Like you look at South Carolina and it's actually even though they're not comparatively great talent compared to who they're playing against most weeks, is fun to watch them because they are just they're just laying everything they've got out there for Shane Beamer. I don't feel that way for Vanderbilt with Clark Lee. I know they're playing better. I know they're playing harder for him. I just don't see it all the way. And I think he's going to have to kind of evaluate himself in the offseason to figure out, okay, what can I do to inject more energy into this program so that I can make this thing look like this is the place you want to be.
Every game's a road game for them. We see the red.
They've got
when Georgia's there. We see the blue in there when Kentucky's there. We see the orange in there when Tennessee's there. And that's historically that's been the thing at Vandy forever. I mean, Woody Woodenhopper was there in the 90s. It was still getting taken over by other teams. Maybe the few years Franklin won 9 games, that might have been the best home field advantage they had. But so he
one of the funniest things that happened is Tennessee checkers out when they go on the road to Vanderbilt. They plan checker out, and it's one of the it's such a solid move in that rivalry. But Clark Lee has a big hand. Now, I was embedded with James Franklin. I think signing day 2013, and his energy and the way he worked the media and everything. Now, he might seem like a used car salesman guy, but Vandy needs that type of person. Clark Lee, I do wonder if he's a little bit too robotic. He's doing quite well. They're recruiting, believe it or not, in the low 40s, even though that might be a little bit of an exaggeration with the transfer portal and all that going on. But, I think he's doing good things, but I'm like Corey. I would like to see him
we don't
be
know
more of a character. Yeah, be more of a character. Force your way into the news.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be. Even even Stoops at Kentucky, when he came in, he was a character. Even though they went 2-10, he was a character. You knew what they were building. You saw it. People just don't see it with Vanderbilt. You see it with South Carolina. You see it when Kirby came into Georgia. You see it. When all these new guys came in, you see it. You see it right away. You can kind of predict it almost how it's going to go. So for him, again, against Tennessee, starting with Tennessee game this weekend, he's got to be he's got a little bit more energetic. So I'm not going to be quick to give him an A+ because he's been competitive these last couple of weeks. He's still DC range.
Yeah, he's a C.
He's solid. He's a solid C now.
I think he's a C because of improvement. He was a D, and there was a danger of an F earlier in the season.
Oh, you started the season straight up F+. And had to dig out from that. Yeah, and he's a Vandy guy. He should know or have a better perspective too of what it takes, even if that means getting out of his comfort zone personality wise and getting a little crazy, letting your hair down, or he's bald, but letting your whatever, can't let his hair down literally, but you know what I mean.
Guy, real quick, he couldn't get him, but the perfect person for the character for Vandy would be Elijah Drinkwitz. That would absolutely work with Vanderbilt.
And it works because the logo's right there too.
Look at that. We did it again.
We did it again, right? We did it again. We did it again, guys. But it is rivalry. We should talk a little bit about that, right? Maybe the games that are upcoming. Steve, since you're on with us, we'll throw you a bone here. Even though this is Beast of the East, how about the Egg Bowl, man? That's probably going to be one of the most exciting games this weekend.
It's the game of the week in the SEC, that with a close second being Louisville and Kentucky. Those are pretty much the two games this weekend that everybody's watching, besides Florida State, Florida, which is snuff film worthy. So, yeah, I'm proud of that one.
1968.
Yeah. The game is supposed to be 29 degrees. Thanksgiving night is supposed to be 29 degrees, and there's a 60% chance of freezing rain at the moment.
Oh man, that's gonna be fun.
If that happens, that game has the chance to be beautifully sloppy. And And
Well, you see, up on the Palouse, that's a regular thing. So Mike Leach might be actually used to this kind of thing.
yeah, but the people actually doing it will not be.
Well, what do you think they're going to work on in practice all week?
It's going to be 60 degrees and sunny all week. The cold front doesn't come through until Thanksgiving.
Cold water, cold hands. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, and it's going to be cold, and cold weather is always going to affect air raid type teams. We saw this when Ole Miss was there with Phil Longo, when the Phil Longo experience was happening.
And Longo. I don't know if he counts as air raid. He's not true air raid.
You still throw the ball around the yard a good bit. I mean, Ole Miss went 5-6 with AJ, DK, and Dawson Knox, 3 NFL players. I mean, it's unbelievable. But if that happens, that's going to be a major disadvantage for Leach, just on the elements, and Mississippi State with what they like to do. Ole Miss, if Ole Miss can run the ball at all, they should have their way in that game if it happens. If the weather kind of holds off and you just deal with cold, then you have a chance to see the tight game that we're used to in the Egg Bowl series. I think Ole Miss has the better team either way, but we'll see. I mean, weird things happen in the Egg Bowl.
Yeah. They certainly do.
It's a great rivalry, man. It's Thursday night, man, like it should be. It's so much fun
wake up
watching
from my
that.
turkey nap. I'll tune that one off.
And enjoy it now, because in a couple of years,
Boyle.
that Thanksgiving game is going to be Texas A&M. Once that game comes back, it's going to get the Thanksgiving night slot, and Ole Miss and State will go back to Saturday, which CBS will actually love, because if Kiffin and Leach hang around, that's probably going to be next year's CBS game. The Iron Bowl is this year they're forced with the Iron Bowl, and they're like, I don't know. It's not very good.
Their hands were tied with that, because like they signed that deal like they signed that deal at the beginning of the year. Dude, 4 running backs with 500 plus yards rushing. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
Four players with 500 yards rushing. One of those backs is Corral.
Yeah, I get it. I'm not saying Ole Miss. I'm not saying Mississippi State is the better team. I'm just saying I don't know. They might be more competitive than you think in these weather conditions. Like, it might not affect them as much as you think. But
weird things happen in this game. Yeah, I mean, expect the unexpected. You had a guy score a touchdown. They need an extra point to tie. He hiked his leg and did a celebration. The extra point was missed. Ole Miss lost. That resulted in the Ole Miss coach losing his job, the Mississippi State coach losing his job, Kiffin and Leach coming in, and then you look at all the assistants, like 32 coaches that lost their jobs, and all the change happened because Elijah Moore hiked his leg. It's the damnedest thing. Weird stuff happens. Matt Corral got into a brawl in 2018 with Mississippi State. You look down there, as Matt Corral having to play because Jordan Tomo dislocated a finger. He had a game to not blow his red shirt, and he got into a brawl in that game. And it's just weird stuff happens, man.
It does. And when you have the evil genius in Mike Leach, he's not really evil, but you get what I'm saying. It's yeah. So that'll be a fun one nonetheless. It'll be fun. It'll be tight. I still favor Ole Miss guy. Don't get it twisted. All right. Louisville, Kentucky. This one's being played in the pizza box, and so you have the grocery bag and the pizza box in the state of Kentucky. I love it. Papa John Stadium in Kroger Field. I love.
Is Louisville? Is that the house that Shaq built now?
Oh yeah. The big board of director.
My favorite commercial right now is where they do the Papa John's the undercover boss thing, to where Shaq is the one that comes in, and everybody's like, yeah, we knew immediately. He's wearing a fake mustache and a wig.
He's playing up to it because he come in. Hello. Like everybody's
I love that commercial.
Shaq.
Man. So
he has no shame. I love it.
Yeah, his brand is perfect. He's like the fun director for Carnival Cruise, and I'm like, bring it, man.
Absolutely. Just, kind of like, everybody knows, look, it's all about when you play teams for the most part, except for Georgia. Y'all been beating everybody down consistently, but If Kentucky and Tennessee play in September, is it different? Maybe Tennessee's not red hot then like they are now. Louisville is now getting pretty warm. I mean, Duke is terrible, but they're putting up a lot of points and they're rolling offensively. The
Who else they
rivalry is
beat
spicy.
week before last? They beat somebody else a week before last.
Yeah,
Too.
Syracuse, I think they beat them pretty
They
convincing.
prevented Syracuse from being able to go bowling.
Yeah, and Kentucky's just destroyed Louisville last year they didn't play, but the two previous meetings before that, it was 56-10 and 44 to something. Kentucky's won 100 and something to 23 the past two meetings combined. And the way the season started out, I mean, Louisville was shaky. They started off rocky, and Satterfield's kind of got them playing better. It looked like it was going to be another blowout, but now, we've seen Kentucky's secondary have a lot of issues. They're banged up front. Struggle with dual threat guys, and Cunningham is not Lamar, but he is still dangerous.
He's a B
like
plus
a shootout on paper. Whose offense buckles first is the way it looks right now, because it looks like it's going to be a high scoring game, and we'll have to see what happens. And we saw Kentucky trying to grind it out, and they had the ball for 58 minutes against Tennessee, and Tennessee had the ball for eight times and scored 8 times seemingly. And is it like that with Louisville too? I mean, if you turn the ball over, oh God, whoever makes the turnover, it's a lot of pressure on the offenses to get out there and score, because it's going to be trading punches all day.
Yeah, absolutely. And this again, a team that's vastly improved in the second year under Satterfield. They started out the year at Louisville, and I was thinking, oh boy, Satterfield about to be gone. That App State magic is just worn off.
Yeah, he was flirting with Carolina. He was looking at Columbia and trying to talk to them, trying to Petrino his way out of there, and they were wanting him to go because it was a mess.
When you look at that opening game against Ole Miss, everybody like poo-pooed on Louisville, but that was back when you thought Ole Miss was a 6 or 7 win team. You didn't know that Ole Miss was this type of team, and that I think Louisville thought that Ole Miss was that level of team, so they had I think that was a blow to their confidence, because Ole Miss just went in there and just manhandled those guys. Just some embarrassing physical play and everything. It's like Louisville didn't look like they even belonged in that game. But I will say this, Malik Cunningham is one tough son of a gun. He took a beating that day and just kept coming. And by the second half, some stuff was starting to work for those guys. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that against Mark Stoops. They're very good defensively. But we'll see how that goes. All I know is the friendly confines of Papa John's Field or whatever. It's
Chacaroni Field.
Yeah, the Chacaroni Field is better than if this game was being played at the grocery bag.
Absolutely.
It won't be to the level of Vanderbilt, but there'll be a lot of blue that gets in there. I don't know how excited or interested Louisville is in this team. Maybe since they're kind of on the uptick, it maybe draws them back in. But Louisville is 50-50, sometimes 60-40 Kentucky. You go there, you see a lot of blue, you go downtown, you go out in the city. It's a good mix of Kentucky and Louisville fans. You see your red there, but it's still a lot of blue in Louisville as well. And of course, you get out in the rest of the state, where I'm from, southeastern Kentucky, you don't see any Louisville fans at all. It's like seeing a person with 3 heads if you see somebody in Louisville walking around out in the rest of the state for the most part. But it'll be a lot of blue there, which is going to be nice. But it's not going to be a pushover game like you thought it was going to be at the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season.
No, not at all. And I can't really see because there's some stuff in the way. But how likely to pivot a little bit? How likely do y'all think Cincinnati makes it into the top 4 if they are undefeated? So,
they're in.
We know that
got to.
They got to
go undefeated. Yeah, they're in by default because teams just keep losing. because there's some carnage that's still left to happen. Michigan and Ohio State still have to play. Oklahoma State. I mean, Ole Miss has a chance, a legit chance, to finish the season if they win their next 2 games to end up on the AP top 5 because of the carnage that still can happen. And they're 8th in the country now. But, yeah, it's one of those things. Yeah, Cincinnati gets in if they're undefeated. They've earned it at this point. They've got to win over Notre Dame, who's 6.
Yeah,
2 years in a row. So if that, and we shouldn't even be saying 2 years in a row, but we're using 2 years of a body of work for them. If they can't get in after that, when are they gonna get in?
When they expand,
I want them to get in.
Right. But
I want them to get in.
Be easy. They put them on in there, and if they get smoked, they'll do better than Notre Dame, who's gotten in there and always gets destroyed. I believe.
Oh yeah.
They played Georgia tough last year. They that wasn't a playoff, but still their bowl history is better than Notre Dame's the past couple of appearances.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Whoever gets in the 4 slot is going to take a beating.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's Oklahoma State, them, Notre Dame. Whoever gets that 4 slot is taking a beating. It might as well be them. Also, everybody has made excuses for last year's Peach Bowl, but right now it's pretty easy to look. If you're 1-4 going into the championship, it's a rematch between Cincinnati and Georgia. Now, I think Georgia's going to boat race them, but that'll at least make intriguing storylines.
Georgia, this year, they're like, we're going to beat you like we should have beat you last year. That's what it'll be. But,
because they'll have their full complement. Not to make excuses, but they'll have the full complement of people. But I think Ohio State has proven to the committee that they're in. All they got to do is take care of business this weekend against Michigan, which they will because they own them in that series. I think it's them. I think if Georgia can beat Alabama, then that opens the door for the winner of Bedlam, and then of course Cincinnati. I think would be your top 4.
Yeah, if Oklahoma State wins and can get the 4, then you have Georgia, Oklahoma State. And then you have a potential Ohio State-Cincinnati game, a battle for Ohio that's viewed as like a little brother type situation. If Ole Miss was playing Southern Mississippi or somebody like that, that's how they look at Cincinnati. So that game would be very interesting, at least for storylines.
Oklahoma State, to me, always finds ways to lose Oklahoma, maybe in years when they shouldn't have in that series. But Oklahoma has played with fire. Oklahoma's played with fire all year. They should have 4 losses easy. So if they beat Oklahoma State and get in there, it's not a good Oklahoma team that's getting in there.
Yeah, no doubt. It'll be interesting coming down the stretch. We'll see how that all plays out. Georgia plays Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech just got boat raced, to be nice about it, by Notre Dame, 55-0. Jeff Collins is probably getting fired on Monday. Let's a week from today. Or actually on Sunday.
Some Waffle House buyout money.
Yep, he'll carry his Waffle House cup into his next job at Kent State. South Carolina, Clemson.
Well, that game. Just real quick before we move on, that game is going to be 41-3. It's not going to be as big as Georgia fans are probably going to be happy with. It's not going to be a complete whitewashing of Georgia Tech just because this has a chance to be the old school Kirby Smart, Nick Saban type murder ball that they used to play, to where it could be 41-3, but it feels like it was 80-0.
Yeah, let's just 41-3. Let's run the clock. Let's just get out of here and focus on Bama next week.
Exactly.
Is exactly what's going to happen here.
Yep.
Clemson, South Carolina just got real interesting. Clemson, huge win over Wake Forest last week. A team that just
sound right. Say that again. Just
huge win over Wake Forest.
Clemson, huge win over Wake Forest. Woo.
Yeah, huge upset win over Wake Forest. Does that not sound weird to you?
That's why I had to have you say it again.
Yeah. And Wake Forest just couldn't stop turning the ball over. Clemson's defense really stood on their head. But this game's an all-out war too. I mean, this game could go either way at this point. Clemson again, just not. They still. I mean, they still, even with the red zone opportunities, it just still felt very clunky in their game against Wake Forest. They just don't have a quarterback. DJ Ungulele is not the guy. Whether he was the guy from the jump, I don't know. Georgia may have broken him or exposed him or whatever, but they don't have a quarterback. I really like this Jason Brown cat for South Carolina. I think this is interesting. Clemson's 11.5-point favorites in this. Definitely take the under in this game. Yeah, I mean, you have a very extremely motivated South Carolina team that's excited about being bowl eligible. You got a Clemson team that's just they're upset about how their seasons went and their offense is just sputtering and puttering. Who knows what's going to happen in this?
Exactly. Rivalry
Yeah.
Who
week.
knows?
Stranger things are happening.
And then Florida State, man. That's
It's like I'm like that little girl that in the meme is like.
that's a noon kick. That's a nooner right there. That's a noon kick in Gainesville.
Unbelievable.
Well, I'm just gonna call some good ball plays, man. And then Vanderbilt, Tennessee, carnage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Carnage.
expect a 50 spot to be dropped by Tennessee.
Yeah. And if you really want to hear us talk about Iron Bowl and LSU A&M, you're going to have to tune into SEC After Dark, which actually airs tomorrow night.
Yes, tomorrow night if you want SEC After Dark.
Yes. And Vinny, we're going to have to get you on the pick sheet so you can make your picks and make them known. And then as we go into next season,
Need to do that as well.
you'll be a regular picker
All right.
on the pick sheet. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. Rattler to Clemson. Oh God, I hope not. Him and Dabo will be oil and water.
No, you know what? I am angry at Clemson because nobody can pronounce DJ's last name. You just call him ukulele, whatever. Nobody can pronounce that. He gets hurt early this year, and I have okay, I get to talk about this guy, and there is no chance of pronouncing his last name.
I called him Pocahontas. I called him Pocahontas at one point.
Yeah, it's like what? Y'all are doing this on purpose. No.
Yeah, they can't go from Ungulale to Rattler. It just can't happen.
Yeah.
They need some syllables in there. They need some consonants.
Spencer Rattler probably is. Ole Miss is either leading or way up there in the race for Spencer Rattler.
Don't do it. Don't
It's
do
only
it.
for
Don't-
1 year. Arch is coming
do
out in
it.
2023.
Oh,
I don't care. Don't get Rattler.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
I would rather you have Carson Beck. Carson Beck is better than Rattler.
Carson
Rattler
Beck is fine. Where he? Oh, that's the Georgia. You're talking. I thought you were talking about the guy at Utah State.
Oh no, Carson Beck he's got some talent. He's just
I think they should get Harrison Bailey.
yes. I'd much rather have Harrison Bailey than Spencer Rattler because Bailey's actually he's a dude that wants to play. He wants to actually wants to play football. Rattler just wants the recognition. Rattler just wants all the clout.
The real life, the probable because they're going to take a quarterback transfer, but it might be Miles Brennan. I think that is fairly likely there.
Who
Miles Brennan,
to where?
Ole Miss.
See, I would love that. I would take me over Spencer Rattler.
I think Spencer Rattler needs a reset. He needs to get out of Oklahoma. Once he realizes that it's kind of that last chance you type thing that you have to deal with is like, hey, if I need to make NIL deals and everything that was going on, I need to straighten up and kind of start to do this right. And they did this with Matt Corral because Matt Corral, like I explained to y'all, in 2018 got into a brawl. Just straight got into a fight on the field. And his mental acumen just improved over time, and eventually, he became what he was.
who's more broken? Do DJ or Rattler?
Rattler's just built that way. Ungulale's more broken. Rattler's just built that way. Rattler is it just you don't want him.
Yeah, let's talk about how much Travis Etienne was underrated at Clemson.
Oh God.
Yeah,
They have no running game there. That doesn't help.
Yeah,
kind of like old school Georgia, kind of like Terrell Davis for the Broncos. Is that what we're talking about, Corey?
Mm-hmm.
Just how important he was for Elway.
Yep.
CN for Lawrence.
And you don't realize it until they're gone, and you realize, oh crap, this guy actually did everything.
Yeah, threw that old dog in here for you.
TD, man. My salute. I love it. Yeah, the ETN, man, that guy's the real MVP of that offense. Him and T-Law. But also, I mean, they took some hits on the offensive line as well, and they had a hard time replacing those guys. And they haven't played as well up front.
And eventually that defense was going to fall. If you struggle that much offensively, eventually that defense will fall.
Yeah, you can't be. I mean, this is like Georgia in 2019. Like Georgia's defense in 2019 was outstanding, but oftentimes it would collapse late in games because the offense couldn't move the ball. Same in 18. Like it collapsed in 18 in that LSU game because they just couldn't put points on the board.
Yeah, the only way to beat Georgia is to hold them to 14 or fewer points.
Yep,
that's the only way you've got a chance.
Yep. Which Monken's got him rolling now.
I do worry, and we'll probably talk about it going into the SEC championship game or whatnot. But I think Stetson Bennett is a trap, and they've almost waited too long. And now JT, you can't do it. Stetson's going to get the try, and he's going to get a chance to do it. And I think that might be a trap. It might behoove Georgia to drop that game to Alabama to get them ready for the playoff. Now, nobody wants a loss, but it is what it is.
It is what it is, but nah, I think Stetson's got it this time around. Why not?
That's the problem. That's the trap. That's the trap.
I mean, I can't control it. I can't play JT Daniels, so I might as well just root for the guy that's in there, I guess. I mean, I would definitely go with JT, but Bennett's got. I mean, it's weird, but Bennett's got some sort of it factor. I don't know what it is.
But the fact that nobody in the SEC plays offense to the level that Georgia played that can threaten Georgia. Alabama can a little bit if Bill O'Brien can get the hell out of the way.
If he looks up from his play sheet and realizes there's a football game actually happening in front of him, he could. Because Jamison Williams is ridiculous. He's a cheat code.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that can do it. But I think Georgia can put pressure on that Alabama. They can work that offensive line a little bit like Texas A&M did. And I think at the end of the day, Georgia's going to win that game like 28-17 or something like that.
Yeah, it won't be low scoring, but it won't be high scoring. It'll be kind of right in the middle there, mid scoring, I guess. Georgia's linebacking core is ridiculous, man, across the board. And you had some guys get some quality reps over the last couple of weeks due to that Adam Anderson situation. That's just going from bad to worse.
Yes. Without Jamison Williams and Bryce Young, Alabama's a 3-loss team.
Oh, easy.
Just take those two off the roster, and that's very un-Alabama-like.
Yeah. Easily. They don't beat LSU without those guys. They certainly they don't beat Ole Miss either.
Yeah,
and then there's another game in there
they're flawed this year, so more so than we've seen from Alabama in a long time. It's some all the depth and talent, but they
may not beat Arkansas without those two guys either. But yeah, I think it is.
And look what I mean. You can't really. You can't judge this in stone, but look what Arkansas did at Georgia. What Arkansas does at Alabama. Yeah, I mean, it's late in the season or whatever, but wow, you go
Arkansas was top 10 at the time.
You get blown out in Athens.
Do you want to hear a scary story?
Ooh, is it what Goosebumps novel do you have for us?
Yeah. First round of the playoff. Let's say Alabama gets in, right? First series of the game, Bryce Young goes down.
Oh boy.
How bad would that number 1 seed put a whooping on them? That would be
I think Stetson could beat him.
that would be just a worst case scenario for them because they could legitimately be like a 31-3 type game. Because if there is nobody backing up Bryce.
Yeah, no Tua walking through that door.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's nobody. Like Paul Tyson, I think, is backing it up. And every time he comes in, like you see a tweet from Jake, like, no. And yeah.
I mean, it ain't out of the realm of possibility for Nakobe Dean or Trayvon Walker or Nolan Smith to get a nice little to get some shots on. Bryce is going to be hit more times in that game than he's been hit all season combined.
It's why Bryce Young doesn't run. Everybody says Bryce Young needs to run. That's why he doesn't run. Because if he gets hurt, their season is over. He means more to Alabama than Matt Corral means to Ole Miss.
Oh my goodness.
And that's scary. But DGD said Monken has the offense efficient regardless of who's behind center. The way it's designed right now, yes. But I think, honestly, when you look at the quarterback situation, I think against Bama, you need a more of a JT Daniels type guy. Or you need Stetson Bennett to figure out how to do that, which he's done a little bit better since the Florida game about doing that and about being that type of guy and taking and being more of a vertical threat. But he's got to do it with guys in his face. He's got to do it on the run. He's going to have to figure out. He had a great game against Tennessee, and he was under duress a lot. Tennessee's secondary is very, very underrated. He did a great job against that secondary. Georgia did a great job against that secondary. So I think when you look at that, maybe that's due to scheme. Stetson Bennett is not going to beat Alabama. It's going to be Todd Monken putting Stetson in situations that's going to lead that offense to score some points.
And Bowers as a freshman, my God, that dude.
My God, a freshman.
I tweeted that. I said he will have, because first of all, the play he made against Kentucky, he hadn't even turned around. The ball was at his head, and he turned around last second, and then he made a play against Tennessee too, which I tweeted out. If Larry Munson was alive, he would, my God, a freshman. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Hobnail Boot is still the greatest ever. That is epic. And I will die on that hill. We just crushed their face.
He threw it to Haynes.
He stuck Haynes over the middle. He dumped it off to Haynes. No, listen to the Florida call from 1980. I had about
run, Lindsey, run. Yeah.
Run, Lindsey.
It was about a 2-inch folding chair.
It was a metal steel chair with about a 5-inch cushion. I broke that. Manners are going to be some property destroyed tonight.
Oh, Larry Munson was great.
Tybee Island and all
St. Simons and Jekyll Island, where all those dog people have the condominiums.
The man, dude.
He used to announce for the Falcons too.
Oh wow.
Didn't have much to talk about, but he was. The '91 Falcons, the primetime Falcons, where they were too legit to quit. Jerry Glanville. The voice of the Falcons was Larry Munson.
Wow.
Yeah, underrated. Now,
Michael Haynes, not Veron Haynes, was one of the star receivers. So he could say he threw it to Haynes. So he had plenty of practice with the Haynes.
He threw it to Haynes.
Chandler and all those guys.
Jack Crystal at Mississippi State was just fantastic. There was a game that something happened, and at the end of the game they did a sonic drive of the game, but the game was so bad. This is back when Mississippi State was pretty horrible. And he's like, the sonic drive of the game will be my trip home to Tupelo because this game isn't worth talking about. and it's like, whoa, you just said that on the air. And it was just fantastic. And Jack Crystal would do the other thing. If Mississippi State was losing, he would never say the score. So you'd never be able to figure that out.
Yeah, Kaywood Lefferts, who I grew up with. He was from the same county I'm from, so the whole state loved him. But where we were from, he was even more revered, if that was even possible. But yeah, he was more classic. And if they were playing bad, he didn't hesitate to be critical. But he was 40 years was football and basketball. Turn the TV down and turn him up like everybody else does with the voices they grew up with. Okay, what level was that for Kentucky?
Yeah, other than like 1 year of like 1987 or something like that of Tom Stocker, Ole Miss like went from Stan Torgerson, which goes back to the 50s, to David Kellum, who's calling games now. Is really those two guys. I mean, it's pretty cool, that community that is the radio voices.
Yeah, and it went from Munson to Scott Howard, which Scott Howard has some classic ones too. Like his first full season, Scott Howard, he called the Alabama overtime thriller in Tuscaloosa. That one was fun. All the Florida games were fun. Anytime Nick Chubb would score, he would say it's Chubby time. It's Chubby time. Like, whoa, dude, take it easy. If you listen to Believe in Georgia Dogs, you hear a couple Scott Howard calls on our intro. Sugar Bowl, Sony Michel call. That'd be the Rose Bowl, Sony Michel call maybe, or Sugar Bowl, or Rose Bowl, or both. Stan. Eli Gold is a modern classic, yes.
Yeah.
Touchdown!
That's actually a decent impression. Well done.
Touchdown! Alabama!
Yeah.
And then you have Rod Bramlett, legend.
Poor Rod.
Auburn's gonna win the football game.
Oh, I love that. Every now and then I'll just randomly start saying that. The kick six, one of the greatest calls ever. John Ward at Tennessee, give him 6. Into the checkerboard. I mean, classic. I mean, Vanderbilt, forget Vanderbilt.
Joe Fisher, I think, is still there. I just only know him because Tom Leach is the voice of Kentucky Now, and he's got a radio show he does every morning. And whoever they're playing, he usually get the other radio voice and do a segment of radio with him. So I've just heard him talk to Joe Fisher.
I know this is a bad thing, but how was the radio call? I know you've heard it for the Music City Miracle when LSU pulled that off.
Oh,
the Bluegrass Miracle.
Bluegrass Miracle. Sorry about that.
That was 04. Was I listening on the?
I can tell you the Music City Miracle while he thinks about it with Mike Keith. You want to talk about good
Keith
radio
was going too.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. I was like, wow, it's something else. The immaculate deflection when the wind blew the kickback. There's so many things, especially during rivalry week, because they were just so amped up during rivalry week.
That's
Kevin Butler going to kick it 100 million miles.
Kevin
and that was
his one bar face mask. Pride of Vince Dooley.
Look at the sugar falling out of the sky. Look at the sugar falling out of the sky. Or just him imploring the defense to hunker down just one more time.
Hunker down, dogs.
Hunker down just one more time. Come on, dogs. All you need is just one more. Hunker down one more time.
That's it.
Yeah,
I don't think I listened that day, but everybody had their foot over the fence to storm the field, and then we just had to walk to our car. Guy Morris, the coach at the time, had already
I was about to ask the chatters the trivia question. Who was the head coach at Kentucky?
Oh, my bad. Yeah, they'd already dumped him, doused him up, and it was ready to celebrate. And
was that the Pillsbury Throwboy?
04?
No, that was 02.
Okay.
He was already in the.
I think I was still in high school. I don't think I was a senior. 04. The Bluegrass Miracle?
Yeah, 04.
No, wasn't it? What?
No, it was 02. No. Wasn't it 02? Wasn't it Marcus Randall?
Yeah, it was Marcus Randall to early Doucette.
That was Jamarcus.
Yeah,
so I think that was 02.
04. 02, yeah, it's got to be 02 because I wasn't there. Because 04, it was Joker Phillips, right?
No,
was the head coach?
No, Phillips was.
No, it was no. It was.
Guy says 02.
Yeah, I think it was 02. Let me look that up.
We're just sitting here talking about SEC history. This is pretty great.
Bluegrass Miracle, November 9th, 2002. Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
I was a freshman at Georgia.
Guy was on it. Good call, Guy.
Well done, Guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well done, Guy. It sounds so condescending when we're like, good job, Guy.
If we're Canadian, yes.
Hey, good job, Guy. Or from the Northeast.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy. Hey, if you wouldn't mind looking that up, eh? What's that all about? Hey, we're not talking about puck here, eh?
I wonder if that Bluegrass Miracle is actually, if you just truth serum Nick Saban for the game that he remembered most, the thing that was most memorable. I wonder if that Bluegrass Miracle is up there.
It's got to be. It's got to be. I think he would. I don't think it's a truth serum. I think he'd tell you that.
Yeah, just is something that always just stands out.
Yeah, I think he. I think he would.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Kicking the gut.
Sorry about that, Vinny. I bet you didn't know that we were going down a Bluegrass Miracle rabbit hole today. Hey, UK.
There he is. There it is. We did it again.
Yeah, again.
Vinny, welcome. We're gonna kick you a few times.
Yeah.
It's your initiation.
Bluegrass
Miracle, motherfucker.
Got a lot of
Cody.
We got a lot of Exhibit A's for
Cody.
that. For Kentucky
Cody
for a long
Caldwell.
time.
He goes by Cody. Yeah.
Okay. Now we know that. You'll have to tell me that like 7 more times, Guy. See? Cody.
Guy. Hey, Guy, you have to tell me that more. Yeah, you can. We can talk about the prayer at Jordan-Air. That's not a fun one.
Oh. They did that, and then the next week did the kick 6. Think about how charmed you have to be for that to happen. That's like once in a generation play that happened in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
One was aided by a freaking bonehead. Like, all you have to do is just slap the ball down, and 2 guys tried to go for an interception, popped it straight up. Who was the defensive coordinator for Georgia that year?
Was that Van Gorder? No. Oh, is that Ty Grantham? That was
It's Todd Grantham.
Ty
That was his
Grantham.
last year. Because Pruitt came in the next year.
Was that 3rd or 4th down when that pass was completed?
Oh, it was fourth and about a half a mile.
Good grief.
Like, we had the game won. Like, we even hurried Nick Marshall on that. Like, Nick Marshall got hit, I think.
Nick Marshall was low-key Gus Malzahn's best quarterback, even over Cam, as far as fit for what he did. Cam was just special because he was better than everybody else on the field, but as far as a fit for what he did, Nick Marshall was the perfect guy, and after he graduated, all of a sudden Gus Malzahn decided he wanted to be a pro-style guy. So you saw like Jarek Stidham and all those guys coming in. When Malik Willis, who went to Auburn, would have been the perfect quarterback for what he wanted to do.
Yeah. I mean, it was a perfect fit. Yeah, he was flushed, had to step up in the pocket, threw a wobbler. Yeah. Watching it right now if you guys can.
Why are you watching? Are you a masochist? It's like a State fan watching the Immaculate Deflection.
Yeah.
Or the stand with Mississippi State had like 15 plays inside the 5-yard line and couldn't score. If something weird happens, Ole Miss wins the game. State only wins if it goes kind of chalk. But if something bizarre happens, Ole Miss is going to win the game. That's just the way it's always worked.
Now I'm watching November 16th, 2002 to win the East.
Which looked like the Miracle of Jordan-Hare.
The dude just got mossed in this one.
Oh, that was the Georgia Auburn game. I thought you were on. I think that was the same day as the Bluegrass Miracle that popped up like the Miracle of Jordan-Hare.
Yeah, no, this is Green to Johnson to win the East. I was a freshman. My God, a freshman. No, dude just got mossed by Michael Johnson, who was like the 4th string. We had some injuries this particular week, and just got unbelievable production out of Michael Johnson somehow.
Yeah. Well, we've been doing this for now like an hour and 20 minutes. We probably should wrap this up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. We're going down like I'm watching YouTube.
Yeah, we're going down a rabbit hole where we could be here 2.5 more hours.
ADD is blazing at this point. We've done I've done seen this Missouri logo about 100 times.
I hate that logo, by the way. I hate that logo. The M on their helmet looks so much better.
I like the logo, but not on their helmets. I like the big M.
I don't like the logo on the rock field either, but there should be bleachers like a normal stadium. That's kind of dumb. Anyway.
And they paint it every year. It's like it'll be a cold day in hell before I recognize Missouri. You know? And
the tradition, Tyler Beatty got to take a piece of that, one of those rocks. That was what they gave it to him after the game or whatever. And it's just really that and Vandy.
Vinny does not hate Missouri at all.
I don't mean to take us down another rabbit hole. But just a big rock quarry with an M logo full of white rocks. That's just come on.
It seems like it's about to be a therapy session
that they paint. It's like, come on. It's like, how far away is Leavenworth? Because that's one of the things they make them do. That's where you go to make little rocks out of big rocks.
It's not even comfortable to sit. Not even grass. You can go to a minor league baseball game and sit in some grass in the outfield. You got rocks behind them.
I went to an Ole Miss baseball game back in the mid-2000s before they expanded and sat on a hill that was about that steep. And that was one of the most uncomfortable games. That was for like a Texas Super Regional. And there were people that had ways to make it work, but it was terribly uncomfortable because you were always worried about sliding down. And that Missouri situation looks more uncomfortable.
Yeah,
it does. You got to rock in places that you don't want to rock. But big question. There is a pun in this question. Big question. Who was the quarterback in Kentucky when Eli was at Ole Miss? There's a nice pun that gives you a clue.
Pillsbury Throwboy.
That's it. I almost wore that shirt. I got a Hefty Lefty shirt that I have to wear it for the next episode.
Yep. And J-Load was the backup quarterback for Eli with the Giants.
Yeah. Got a ring and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Old J-Load, that is if we didn't run you off with the Bluegrass Miracle talk.
Yeah. Welcome. Don't arrest us for hazing or whatever.
Nothing happened. What are you talking about? Nothing happened. All right.
Stuffed in a garbage can, taped upside down, and thrown into a locker or nothing.
No, you didn't get the cold tub treatment. We're good. We did not tape you to a goalpost and throw powder on you and popsicles. We did not do that. We didn't do that. So that was somebody else.
Powder and popsicles, huh?
And Gatorade. Yeah. That's what they
went to the Colts after they. Didn't he go to the Colts after that?
I believe so.
So did he back up both Mannings?
I think so.
I think so.
He went to Indy.
I think so. Well, anyway, that's going to do it for us here at Beasts of the East, man. It was a great fun. I don't want to say first episode because we've been going for a little while, but it was a great reboot episode.
Real quick, before we get out of here and shut it down, we need Vinny, since he's on the show, to tell us about Kentucky basketball, because you have to have a Kentucky basketball talk at least a little bit during this show every time, because he's a Kentucky guy.
Well,
that's right.
We historically bad last year. This year they can't do anything but improve. Tonight's game was streamed against the Albany Great Danes, so the fan base was ticked off because you couldn't even find it, and the whole thing that they're going to now, which is just the change that the world is in. But a lot of turnovers, and they end up winning by 20, and it's a whole run of games against inferior teams right now. You played Duke, got beat by 8, a bunch of inferior teams. You got some harder games coming up. You got Louisville, Notre Dame, Ohio State coming up. So it's that little stretch now. Not really great games, just kind of tune-up games to kind of get everybody on the same page. And that's where we are, kind of in the middle of that right now. So, you got there, and this is a veteran team too, except it's a bunch of guys from the transfer portal, so they got to get used to playing together. This is an old team. It's not a bunch of freshmen like normal. You got Kellen Grady, who's a senior from Davidson. This is the oldest team Kentucky's ever had. David Mintz is like 24. Got a bunch of 23, 24-year-olds playing for Cal. That's never happened. So now you just got to get all the experienced dudes on the same page. But it's a veteran squad, not as big and as long as normal. You know, Oscar Sheboy transferred from West Virginia. He's like 6'9". He rebounds like his life depends on it. They're a little light in the post. If he gets in foul trouble, it's kind of like, what are we going to do? Because Cal really still hates to do the 4-guard thing, but he might have to more than you think. They're going to shoot the rock. They couldn't throw it in the ocean last year. They go 6-8 minutes without a bucket every game. At some point, a scoring drought was coming. They got a bunch of shooters in.
Wait, are we talking about Kentucky or Georgia here?
A Severe Wheeler from Georgia, too. Thank y'all very much. He's running the point. He threw the inbounds pass that beat Kentucky last year in Athens. So led the league in assists. So now you put him with a bunch of guys. He penetrates and kicks out with a bunch of spot-up shooters. So it's kind of where they are, and they're just kind of getting all molded together.
Just to let everybody know, we're covered for basketball season too. Yeah, we got the Kentucky angle covered. Also, I saw Tennessee beat the hell out of North Carolina the other day.
After getting stomped by who beat them down the day before, Villanova. Yeah. But they did bounce back against Carolina, so I give them credit. Had to give them credit, but they did bounce back, so good for them.
Well, there you go. So, after the Beast of the East basketball minute, that was brought to you by Vinny Hardy. That was good.
Logo.
Yeah, Duke is beating the Citadel right now, beating the shite out of them. Not that anybody cares, but pulling up the SEC. Virginia beat Georgia 65-55, which is bad. Arkansas victorious over Kansas State tonight in the Hall of Fame Classic. 64-57. Georgia in the Roman Legends Classic. Hail Caesar. Florida 20-point victors over Cal, 80-60. A&M losing to Wisconsin. LSU beating the dog, out of Belmont, and Florida State beating the ever-living Tar out of Missouri, who is Vinny's favorite school. So, with that is your basketball.
Old school Kentucky assistant from back in the 70s. So.
That is outstanding. I love watching Florida State play basketball. Is actually pretty fun. I never thought Florida State and Tennessee would be basketball schools, but they are now. So that's fun, right?
It is.
And they have switched roles with Kentucky. Kentucky's now a football school. So go figure, right? Yeah. But that's going to do it for us here on the Beast of the East podcast. It's been a fun hour and a half. It's been a fun 90 minutes. The chat was blazing. Cody, well done. DGD, well done. Everybody else that was in the chat, well done. Tell your friends about it. We are back. We're back on Beast of the East. We got a whole new cast here. Israel Troupe will join us next week when he washes off his war paint and actually brings us some venison. So Steve did a great job pinch hitting.
Thank you.
You were like Jorge Soler in the World Series, hitting bombs, hitting dingers. But we are the Beast of the East podcast on the Believe Podcast Network, also in conjunction with the Y'all's Conference Network, presented by betonline.ag. For Vinny and Steve, I'm Corey. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We hope you join us back here next week. Goodbye.